it's me, Candace, and I've decided I'd like to do a cooking video with you guys. I've tried to do a couple before, or I've done one before, and I tried to do another one, but it's kind of back when I was learning how to film, and so I kind of forgot to push some buttons that I should have, and didn't edit it correctly, so I just ended up scrapping that video. But anyway, so tonight I'm going to be making a manicotti. Well, I guess it's sort of like manicotti. It's basically cheese stuffed shells. We prefer the shell shape instead of the long tubular manicotti shape. And I'm just going to be telling you, kind of walking you through what I do, and the recipe's super easy. What I like to do personally when I make meals, instead of spending money to buy like pre-made meals, you know, for convenience, like convenience foods, I kind of like to cook from scratch, but I like to double up my recipes so that I end up with twice as much, or 3 or 4 times as much even sometimes, the amount of food, and then I like to freeze what I'm not using in meal-sized portions so that on days when I'm sick or I don't feel like cooking or I'm really just busy, or even if I'm gone for the evening and my husband's home by himself, we always have food to cook, and he always has something to make. So I'm going to be making a whole box of cheese shells, which will give me about 40 cheese shells, I think, and that'll be more than enough for us to get 2 to 3 meals out of. So stick with me and I'll show you how I make it. Okay guys, I have my jumbo shells. They're boiling right now, and while they're boiling I'm going to be preparing the cheese filling. I just use the ronzoni. It's like $2 a box, so it's a really good deal on, you know, getting 3 or 4 meals out of something like that. But I'm just going to toss that since I don't need it anymore. I'm going to be using a whole package of ricotta cheese that we got. So I'm just going to put that into my glass bowl here. Okay. There we go. Okay. I'll put that to the side. Now this calls for Parmesan cheese. I have a mixture of Parmesan and Romano cheeses that I'm just going to use. So I'm just going to sprinkle that in there. I'm not going to use all of it, but sprinkle quite a bit of it. But I am going to use most of the mozzarella cheese that I have here. Sometimes I hate these little tearing bags. They put them on there to make them all easy, but then they don't actually ever tear anything. And then you end up using scissors anyway, and you're just kind of like, well, what's the point, right? Okay. I think I got that there. Gosh, these little things are hard to open. There we go. Battle of the wills with the cheese. Usually when I cook, I like to put on Pandora, but since it's going on YouTube, I didn't really want any right infringement. But I like to cook or listen to music while I cook, especially when I'm home by myself in the daytime, because it just seems to make things go faster and puts me in a better mood, and I don't know, it's just something that I enjoy. Okay, so I'm kind of just going to mix this up just a little bit. You can wait if you want to mix it all up, but I used almost an 8-ounce bag, and I might add a little bit more here. I'm not 100% sure how much I want to add just yet, because I don't know, I like to look at recipes for inspiration and ideas, I guess, but I'm more of someone who just takes my ideas from there and then kind of tweaks it and puts my own spin on it. And I've been cooking since I was like 10 or 11. Like, I think the first thing I ever really remember cooking were cream puffs. The filling didn't turn out super good because I used like jam and whipped topping, I think. But the cream puff itself actually turned out really good and was easy to make. So cooking is something I feel like I'm really good at, something I enjoy doing. And I enjoy feeding people. Like, food is kind of like an important part of my life, and, you know, I like to feed the people that I love and the people that I care about. So for me, it's something that I very much enjoy doing. But anyway, so a lot of times I can just eyeball things because I've been cooking for such a long time. I mean, sometimes I need a direct measurement if it's like a recipe I've never made before, or if it's like baking, I would probably use like more exact measurements. But for actual cooking, I just oftentimes eyeball it. Okay, so now I'm going to put in 2 large eggs. And I've got a trash can right here by me. So no, I'm not throwing my eggshells on the floor. And then I'm just going to kind of mix that in and incorporate it really good so that there's not any, like, you know, chunks of cooked egg or something in your in your cheese shells. And just kind of incorporate that really well. Okay. So it's going to have like a creamy, yellowy, off-white appearance at this point, but it's getting softer and softer to stir. Everything's kind of warming up a little bit and incorporating a little easier and a little bit better. And the egg certainly helps to help bind it all together and to add a little extra moisture to make it easier to stir. Okay, that's good. Now I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for salt because it adds a little bit of salt. And I don't get a lot of salt in my shaker here. I'm going to use a peppercorn medley mix, and I have this built-in peppercorn grinder. And this one I think has like pink peppercorns and black ones, and I don't know, probably some other colors or some that I don't know about. I don't know what other kinds it's got in there, but anyway, put a little bit of that in there. And then this calls for fresh parsley, but I don't have any. So I'm just going to use dried parsley. And that should, hopefully, it'll give it a really nice flavor because it'll have time to sit and moisten. And, you know, the longer dry herbs sit with something, the more flavor that it puts off into something. And since there's a lot of cheese in here and a lot of filling, I want to make sure that I have enough parsley. So it might seem like I'm putting in a lot, but I'm not really putting in that much. Besides, these little shakers do not put out very much. Okay. So I'm just going to mix all that in again and incorporate everything. And then just kind of eyeball it, make sure that I look like I have enough parsley in there. If I feel like I don't, I'll just add a little bit more. Oftentimes it's about tasting something, but it's kind of hard when you put raw egg in something. Probably shouldn't be taste testing that. It's not moist until it's after it's cooked. You know, don't want to get salmonella or anything else for that matter. I'm going to add some more parsley. I don't feel like there's enough in there because I want to see a nice little sprinkling throughout. Not like a ton, but enough to see a little bit in every bite. So, there we go. Alrighty. So, that's my egg mixture, so I'm just going to leave that here. And then when the shells get done, I'm just going to strain them, and I have a strainer right here, and I'm just going to have them right here in the sink. And then I'm going to proceed to fill them and put them on my baking sheet, and then I will put the baking sheet in the freezer, at least the ones that I'm going to freeze, because I'm going to put some in a container or in a baking dish for tonight's dinner, but the ones I'm going to freeze, I sit in the deep freezer until they're frozen solid, and then I remove them and put them into a bag. So I will catch up with you guys in just a few moments. Alrighty guys, it's time to start stuffing my cheese shells. So I've got my shells over here. I have my filling right here, and then I have the pan I'm going to be putting most of the shells into. I actually need to get out another little pan that we'll be using for dinner tonight. So I'll fill this one up first, and then I'll start filling this up. I have a cookie scoop here, although it's used for cookie dough mainly. You can use it for anything. I use it for deviled eggs, scooping things like this. If I want to do small, like little, I don't know, balls of whatever, anything delicate or tiny or decorative, I can use this for it, and this just makes it faster and easier to stuff the cheese shells. So all I pretty much do is just choose out a shell, kind of pop it open a little bit like so, grab my cookie scoop, put some cheese in there, kind of nestle it in there, and scoop it in. Then we can just set that into one of the bowls. And I'm going to freeze these ones, and the ones I put into my tray for tonight, I will cover in pasta sauce. You can use tomato sauce, alfredo, whatever kind of sauce you want, pesto, and then bake it. And then I like to serve mine with side salads and garlic bread. That's what I'm going to use now, and I will show you the process in a moment. Okay, I'm just going to pop these into the freezer and wait till they get frozen, and then I will be transferring these to a plastic bag, and then we can just take out however many we need. I put about 10 in this little tiny dish right here, and we can just bake it up as we need it. So this is a really easy go-to meal, and I do this with a lot of meals. I do this with my meatloaf. If I'm going to make one meatloaf, I'm not going to make 2 or 3 and stick them in the freezer, you know. If I'm making enchiladas, I might as well make 2 or 3 pans of enchiladas, and I have some for the future. I do the same with pizza and other easy to make meals. I even do it with soups. If you want to use disposable pans, you can get them at the dollar store for not a lot of money. I just use plastic bags for things like this. I do it with mashed potatoes, and I use a plastic bag for this. I just scoop it out when I make it and wait till it hardens, and you can do it with just about anything. But thanks for cooking with Candy. Talk to you later.